We're a week away from the start of the 2024 NBA season, so the excitement is gradually building day by day, and predictions are flying all over the place by fans and analysts regarding what they believe will happen this year. Well, this channel is no different, because in today's video, we will be going through every major award, and I'll be making my predictions for who I believe will win each one of them, along with acknowledging two other players that I believe will be tightly in the running that will finish as runner-ups. The awards in question are, of course, the Sixth Man of the Year, Most Improved Player, Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and the MVP. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but it also very much appreciate it. Now with that being said, let's begin. We'll be starting things off with the Sixth Man of the Year award, and the player that I believe will take it home this season is Immanuel Quickley of the New York Knicks. Quickley started slowly last year, not being as heavily featured off the bench, but in the second half of the season he earned more trust from his coaching staff, began playing more key minutes off the bench for them, and really took off in that second half of the year. He almost won this award last season as well, but he came up just barely short as Malcolm Brogdon edged him out and won it. But I think with Quickley now going into the season knowing his role as a go-to guy off the bench from the jump, he's going to be able to carry that momentum that he built last year into a campaign that sees him take his game to another level. From the start of January until the end of the season last year, Quickley was averaging about 18 points per game, shooting the ball very well, making about 48% of his shots and 40% of his threes, and I honestly think that's a realistic expectation for him to produce at over the course of the entire season this year. Now, as for the two players that I will be thinking will be right behind him in the running, I have Chris Paul and Norman Powell. Chris Paul's going to have to adjust to a new role in Golden State that will very likely feature him coming off of the bench, but he's still going to be playing a ton of minutes, operating as a prototypical floor general, setting up easy looks for the elite shooting that he has around him now in Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. Norman Powell was one of the most productive scorers off the bench last season on the Clippers as well, and I don't see that changing all that much this year on a team that hopes to stay healthy and get back into contention. There's a lot of talent on this Clippers roster, but if Powell can keep putting up about 17 or more points per game while shooting 40% from three, like he's done each of the last 4 years, then he can definitely find himself in the running again. The next award up is the Most Improved Player, and the player that I believe will be taking it home this season is Jordan Poole of the Washington Wizards. Everything is setting up perfectly for a Jordan Poole breakout season, so now it's up to him to actually go out and do it. His time in Golden State had a lot of ups and downs, including his highest points coming during their playoff run in 2022, which won them the title, which was then followed by some low points of getting benched for a bit during this year's postseason run. He has since been traded to Washington, where he will now be leading the way for a group going through a bit of a rebuild period, and with that, he will also likely take over as their go-to scorer. He's coming off of a season where he scored over 20 points per game while playing alongside guys like Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Andrew Wiggins, who were ahead of him in the pecking order. So now with him being fully unleashed, I don't think it's unreasonable to expect him to score about 25 points per game or more. As for the guys who will also be in the running for this award, I believe it will be Austin Reeves and Mikal Bridges. The emergence of Austin Reeves has been happening fast, and after taking over the starting spot in March last season for the Lakers, he too was a late bloomer who will now be going into the season much more heavily featured on a very good Lakers team, which should undoubtedly lead to a boost in his production. Mikal Bridges is a player who we already saw break out after being traded to Brooklyn last season, but this is going to be his first full season as a Net, so his overall season-long statistical production is what should be in for a big boost, and when that happens, he's also primed to be in the conversation here. The next award is the Rookie of the Year, and the player that I believe will be taking it home this year is Victor Wembanyama of the San Antonio Spurs. I didn't want to be another one choosing the obvious pick here, but the more I thought about it, the harder it became for me to pick against Wembanyama and the otherworldly amount of potential that he's putting on display already. He's obviously going to have some rookie growing pains like every other teenager does when they enter the NBA, but he's also a 7'4" unicorn with range out to the three-point line, handles like a wing player, and an ability to impact the defensive end of the floor with his length and shot blocking from day one. He's also on a Spurs team that will be running a lot through him right away as they continue on with their rebuild, so he'll have the usage to put up the numbers necessary to lead the way too. We could be about to witness an all-time great rookie season, and that's just too much for me to pick against. With that being said though, I do believe Scoot Henderson and Chet Holmgren will both be very much in the running as well, and are my two picks for tight runner-ups to this award. Henderson is an incredibly explosive lead guard who plays in a non-stop attack mode comparable to a young Russell Westbrook and Derrick Rose, and with Damian Lillard traded away, he will also be getting a ton of usage on the Trailblazers from day one. Chet Holmgren was actually drafted number 2 overall a year ago, but because his injury caused him to miss the entire season last year, he qualifies as a rookie this year, and since he's been back healthy, he has looked really good out there. He's another 7-footer with a ton of skill as a shooter and rim protector on defense, and for a Thunder team expected to take a leap this season, he's going to be playing a big part in that, holding it down inside. The next award is the Defensive Player of the Year award, and my pick for who will win it this year is Bam Adebayo of the Miami Heat. The Heat were expecting to have a massive offseason, being the team most heavily linked to Damian Lillard all summer, only for the Bucks to swoop in and steal him away, and since then, due to the fact that the Heat didn't really do much else this offseason, they have become a bit underrated by the general masses, which could put a chip on their shoulder. Then the GM poll got released by the NBA, with Bam Adebayo receiving 0 votes in the poll for who they believe is the best defender in the league, which I think is pretty ridiculous. But all it's going to do is give Bam even more motivation this year. He has easily been one of the best defensive players in the league for years now, and it's about time he starts to get the proper respect that he deserves for being a big man who is not only an elite rim protector that makes the team's defense around him better, but he can legitimately guard all 5 positions comfortably. He holds things down inside for the Heat and covers a lot of holes for a group with pretty inconsistent perimeter defenders. So when the Heat remain in contention this year, he's going to be more than deserving. Now, as for the runner-ups, that will be right behind him in the race. I have Draymond Green and Evan Mobley. Green is a regular in the conversation for this award, having won it previously, and after signing a $100 million contract extension this summer, he no longer has that distraction hanging over his head, so he'll be fully locked in for another run. Evan Mobley finished 3rd in the voting for this award last year, and he, like Bam Adebayo, is another big man who helped anchor the top-ranked defense for the Cavaliers last year, while also capably defending multiple different positions inside and out. And finally, we've made it to the biggest award of them all, being the MVP, and my pick for 2024 is Giannis Antetokounmpo of the Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis won this award 2 years in a row back in 2019 and 2020, and has finished in 3rd place for the award in each of the last 2 seasons. He's been one of the best players in the NBA the entire stretch of the way, and the main reason why I believe he will be back on top to take home his 3rd MVP award this season is because he and his Bucks team are perfectly positioned to check every box that an MVP winner needs. With Damian Lillard in town, the Bucks are fully expected to continue sitting atop the Eastern Conference, so they will easily check the impacting winning games box. Then Giannis individually puts up numbers on a nightly basis that very few are even capable of replicating on both ends of the floor. He should still be able to score about 30 points per game while playing better defense than any other candidate. He'll grab a ton of rebounds as usual, he'll continue to dish out a bunch of assists when defenses collapse on him, and they're going to be winning more games than any other candidate, I think. So for that reason, he will be my pick. Then, as for the runner-ups, I have Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid. That's right, I'm being boring and not making any bold predictions for this award, going with the two players that have won each of the last 3 MVP awards. I don't see any reason for why things will change at the top, with these 3 all still being at the top of their games. The only thing that concerns me a little bit is Joel Embiid's Sixers team currently being filled with a bunch of distractions, but the Sixers will still likely be good enough to finish with about 50 wins, so he probably won't go back-to-back winning the award, but he's still going to get a bunch of third-place votes and be in the running. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below who you think will win these awards this season. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.